Imagine making a deal with a demon for unparalleled success, only to discover the horrifying price is your very soul. Join us as we delve into Amelia Carter's gripping journey from artistic despair to eerie fame and the dark forces she must confront to reclaim her life. Will she find redemption, or will the shadows consume her? Watch till the end to uncover the chilling twists of the devil's bargain. Amelia Carter was at the end of her rope. Once a promising artist, she now found herself struggling to make ends meet in a tiny, dilapidated apartment in the city. Her paintings, once praised for their vivid emotion and unique style, were now deemed unremarkable by the very critics who had once lauded her talent. Desperation gnawed at her as she realized she might have to give up on her dreams and find a mundane job to survive. One evening, after yet another gallery had turned her down, Amelia sat in her cluttered studio, tears of frustration streaking down her cheeks. Her phone buzzed with a notification, drawing her attention. It was a message from an old acquaintance, Lydia, who had recently achieved phenomenal success as an artist. Amelia, I heard about your struggles. There's someone who might be able to help you, but it's unconventional. If you're interested, meet me at the Café Noir at midnight. Curiosity and desperation led Amelia to agree. At midnight, she found herself at the dimly lit Café Noir, a place that seemed to exist out of time, with its vintage decor and hushed ambiance. Lydia was waiting for her at a corner table, her eyes sparkling with an eerie confidence. Thank you for coming, Lydia began, her voice low and conspiratorial. I know what it's like to struggle, to feel your talent slipping away, but I met someone who changed everything for me. Amelia leaned forward, intrigued despite her reservations. Who is this person? Lydia hesitated, then said, His name is Lucien. He's not ordinary. He can offer you a deal, success and recognition beyond your wildest dreams, but at a price. Amelia's heart pounded. What kind of price? You'll find out if you decide to meet him, Lydia replied, slipping a card across the table. It bore a simple address, 666 Shadow Lane. Amelia took the card, feeling a chill run down her spine. Was she really willing to go this far? But as she left the cafe and walked through the deserted streets, her resolve hardened. She had nothing to lose. The following night, Amelia found herself standing in front of an imposing Gothic mansion at the end of Shadow Lane. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the building's ornate facade. Gathering her courage, she knocked on the heavy, iron-bound door. To her surprise, it swung open almost immediately, revealing a tall man with striking features and piercing blue eyes. He smiled, a gesture that sent shivers down her spine. Amelia Carter, I presume? His voice was smooth and hypnotic. I am Lucien. Please come in. The interior of the mansion was lavishly decorated, a stark contrast to its ominous exterior. Lucien led her to a grand parlor where a fire crackled in an ornate fireplace. He gestured for her to sit, then poured them both a glass of dark red wine. I understand you're seeking success in your artistic endeavors, Lucien began, his eyes never leaving hers. I can offer you that. Fame, wealth, admiration, all within your grasp. But as Lydia mentioned, there is a price. Amelia's mouth was dry. What do you want in return? Lucien leaned back, his smile widening. Your soul, Amelia. In exchange for 10 years of unparalleled success, your soul will belong to me. A chill settled over her. It sounded absurd, like something out of a horror movie. Yet, the desperation in her heart made her consider it. And if I refuse? Lucien shrugged. Then you walk out of here, and your life continues as it has been, struggling, unfulfilled. The choice is yours. Amelia took a deep breath. Could she really make such a deal? Her mind raced with the possibilities, but one thought stood out. She couldn't continue living as she was. She needed this chance. All right, she said, her voice steady. I accept. Lucien's smile grew. He produced a parchment and a quill, pricking her finger to draw a drop of blood. Sign here, he instructed. With a trembling hand, Amelia signed her name. As the ink dried, Lucien's eyes seemed to glow with a sinister light. Congratulations, Amelia. Your journey to greatness begins now. True to Lucien's promise, Amelia's life transformed almost overnight. Her first painting after the Pact, a hauntingly beautiful piece titled Eternal Night, sold for a staggering amount at an auction. Critics hailed it as a masterpiece, and galleries clamored to showcase her work. Invitations to exclusive art shows and high society events flooded in. With newfound confidence, Amelia embraced her success, creating more paintings that resonated deeply with viewers. Each piece seemed to carry an otherworldly quality, drawing people in with its raw emotion and intensity. She became the darling of the art world, her name synonymous with genius. Wealth followed fame, and Amelia moved into a luxurious loft in the heart of the city. She traveled the world, her art displayed in prestigious galleries from New York to Paris. She was living the life she had always dreamed of, and yet a small part of her couldn't shake the unease that lingered in the background. At times, she caught herself staring at her reflection, wondering if she had made the right choice. But those moments were fleeting, overshadowed by the thrill of her achievements and the adoration of her fans. One evening at the opening of her latest exhibition, Amelia stood in the center of a bustling gallery, surrounded by admirers. As she basked in their praise, a familiar figure approached her. It was Lucian, looking as striking as ever. "Enjoying your success?" he asked, his eyes glinting with amusement. Amelia nodded, though a pang of fear twisted in her gut. "Yes, I am. Thank you for everything." Lucian's smile was enigmatic. "Remember, Amelia, this is only the beginning. Make the most of your 10 years." His words lingered in her mind long after he had disappeared into the crowd. 10 years seemed like a long time, but Amelia couldn't ignore the countdown that had begun the moment she signed that pact. As the years passed, Amelia's fame and fortune continued to grow. She became a household name, her art celebrated around the globe. However, with each passing year, the unease within her deepened. The shadow of the bargain she had struck loomed ever larger, casting a pall over her accomplishments. One night, while working late in her studio, Amelia heard a whisper. She turned, expecting to see someone, but the room was empty. Shrugging it off as fatigue, she returned to her painting. But the whispers persisted, growing louder and more insistent. "Amelia?" The voice was familiar yet distorted, sending chills down her spine. She tried to ignore it, but the whispers became more frequent, invading her thoughts even in the daylight. They spoke of darkness, of debt, of the price she had yet to pay. Determined to silence the voices, Amelia sought out Lucien. She found him in the same mansion where their deal had been struck. He greeted her with the same unsettling smile. "Amelia, to what do I owe this visit?" he asked, his tone mocking. "The whispers," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "They won't stop. What are they?" Lucien's eyes glittered with amusement. "Ah, the reminders. They are merely a sign that your time is running out. You have 6 years left, if I recall correctly." Fear gripped her heart. "Is there no way to end this?" Lucien shrugged. "A deal is a deal, Amelia. You knew the terms." She left the mansion with a heavy heart, the whispers haunting her every step. Despite her success, the price of her soul weighed heavily on her, a constant reminder of the darkness that awaited her. As Amelia's 6th year of success came to an end, the whispers grew more insistent, turning into voices that taunted and tormented her. They filled her mind with doubt and fear, making it increasingly difficult to focus on her work. She became paranoid, convinced that shadows were watching her every move. Her art began to take on a darker, more twisted quality. The vibrant colors and hopeful themes were replaced by somber tones and macabre imagery. Critics still praised her work, calling it a bold evolution of her style, but Amelia knew the truth. The darkness within her was seeping out, manifesting in her paintings. One night, unable to bear the torment any longer, Amelia sought refuge in alcohol. She drank heavily, hoping to drown out the voices and find some peace. As she stumbled through her apartment, she caught sight of her reflection in a mirror. Her eyes were hollow, her face gaunt. "Who are you?" she whispered, barely recognizing herself. In that moment, she realized the true cost of her deal. It wasn't just her soul that was at stake, but her very sanity. She had become a shadow of the person she once was, consumed by the darkness she had invited into her life. Desperate for a solution, Amelia reached out to Lydia, hoping her old friend might have some answers. They met at the Café Noir, where their journey had begun. "Lydia, I need your help," Amelia pleaded. "The voices, they're driving me insane. How did you cope?" Lydia's eyes were filled with sympathy. "I didn't. I couldn't. I made a similar deal, Amelia, and the whispers never stopped. They only grew louder. The only way I found peace was to accept my fate." Amelia's heart sank. "There must be another way. We can't be the only ones who have dealt with this." Lydia shook her head. "I've searched for years. There is no escaping Lucien's grasp once you've made a deal with him. We are bound." As the realization of her fate settled in, Amelia felt a deep despair wash over her. She had traded her soul for success, and now it seemed there was no way out. Despite Lydia's words, Amelia refused to give up. She spent the next several months researching every possible way to break her pact with Lucian. She consulted occult books, sought out mystics, and even attended secret gatherings of those who dabbled in the dark arts. Each lead seemed promising at first, but ultimately led to dead ends. One night, after another fruitless search, Amelia returned to her apartment and found a package waiting for her. Inside was an old, leather-bound book with a note attached, for those who seek redemption. She opened the book, discovering it contained ancient rituals and spells meant to break demonic contracts. The language was archaic and complex, but with determination, she began to decipher it. Weeks passed as she pored over the text, hoping to find a solution. One ritual stood out, a ceremony to summon the spirit of an ancient exorcist known for breaking infernal pacts. The ritual required rare ingredients and precise incantations, but it offered a glimmer of hope. Amelia gathered the necessary items and prepared for the ritual. On a moonless night, she drew a circle of protection in her studio, lighting candles and incense. As she began to chant the incantation, the air around her grew cold, and shadows seemed to gather at the edges of the circle. A figure materialized within the circle, an ethereal being with a calm, commanding presence. "I am Magnus, the exorcist. Why have you summoned me?" Amelia's voice trembled. "I made a deal with a demon named Lucian. He promised me success in exchange for my soul. Now I seek to break this pact." Magnus regarded her with a penetrating gaze. Breaking a demonic contract is no easy feat. It requires immense strength and the willingness to confront the darkness within yourself. "Are you prepared for such a trial?" Amelia nodded. "I am. I'll do whatever it takes." Magnus explained the process, detailing the steps Amelia needed to take. The ritual required her to confront her deepest fears and the darkness she had allowed into her life. It would be a harrowing journey, but it was the only way to reclaim her soul. "First," Magnus said, "you must face the memories of your past, the moments that led you to make the deal with Lucian. Only by understanding your own desperation can you begin to undo the pact." Amelia spent days meditating on her past, reliving the moments of struggle and pain that had driven her to seek Lucian's help. She remembered the loneliness, the rejection, and the overwhelming desire to prove herself. Each memory was a dagger to her heart, but she endured, determined to find redemption. Next, Magnus guided her through a series of rituals meant to purify her soul. She fasted, prayed, and performed cleansing ceremonies, each step bringing her closer to confronting Lucian. Finally, the time came for the final confrontation. Magnus instructed her to summon Lucian within the circle of protection. The exorcist would stand by her side, but it was up to Amelia to break the contract. With trembling hands, Amelia lit the candles and began the summoning ritual. The air grew heavy with an oppressive presence as Lucian appeared, his eyes burning with fury. "Amelia," he hissed, "you dare summon me." "I want to break our pact," Amelia declared, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. "I reclaim my soul." Lucian laughed, a sound that echoed through the room. "You think you can break a contract forged in blood? You are mine, Amelia." Magnus stepped forward. "The power of the contract lies in her consent. If she truly renounces it, you have no hold over her." Lucian's eyes narrowed. "Very well, let her try." Amelia stood tall, gathering her courage. She looked Lucian in the eye, feeling the weight of her decision. "I renounce our pact. I reject the success you gave me and the darkness it brought into my life." Lucian's form flickered, his anger palpable. "You cannot simply undo what has been done. Your soul is bound to me." Magnus began to chant, his voice strong and resonant. The protective circle glowed with a brilliant light, pushing back the shadows. "By the power of light and purity, I command you, demon, to release your hold on this soul." Lucian howled in rage, the light burning his form. "You will pay for this, Amelia. You will know suffering beyond measure." Amelia's heart pounded, but she stood firm. "I am not afraid of you. I take back my soul, my life, my freedom." The room filled with a blinding light as Magnus completed the exorcism. Lucian's form dissolved into the darkness, his screams echoing into the void. When the light faded, Amelia felt a profound sense of relief and exhaustion. The whispers were gone, and the shadows had lifted. Magnus placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have done well, Amelia. Your soul is free. Tears of gratitude filled her eyes. Thank you, Magnus. I couldn't have done this without you. The exorcist nodded. Remember, the true strength lies within you. Use it wisely. With those words, he vanished, leaving Amelia alone in her studio. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of peace and clarity. In the days that followed, Amelia began to rebuild her life. She continued to paint, but now her work reflected a newfound sense of hope and resilience. The darkness that had once plagued her creations was replaced by light and beauty. She reached out to Lydia, sharing her experience and the path she had taken to break free from Lucian's grasp. Lydia, inspired by Amelia's strength, began her own journey toward redemption. Amelia's art continued to garner attention, but this time, it was for its genuine emotion and positive impact. She used her platform to speak out about the dangers of desperation and the importance of staying true to oneself. Her story resonated with many, inspiring others to seek their own paths to redemption. Despite the challenges she had faced, Amelia found that her true success lay not in fame or fortune, but in the strength of her spirit and the authenticity of her work. She had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, her soul intact. Years passed, and Amelia's legacy grew. She opened a gallery dedicated to helping struggling artists find their voice without compromising their integrity. The gallery became a beacon of hope and creativity, a place where artists could thrive and share their stories. Amelia often thought about Lucian and the pact she had made. She knew that darkness would always exist, but she had learned to navigate it with wisdom and courage. Her journey had taught her the value of resilience and the power of redemption. One evening, as she walked through her gallery, admiring the work of young artists, she felt a sense of fulfillment. Her life had come full circle, and she had found her true purpose. In the quiet moments, when the gallery was empty and the moonlight filtered through the windows, Amelia would sometimes hear a whisper, a reminder of the darkness she had overcome. But now, those whispers only served to remind her of her strength and the light she had brought into the world. She smiled, knowing that her journey was far from over. There were still stories to tell, battles to fight, and souls to save, and she was ready for whatever came next.